Pumpkin is a village in Lithuania. The inhabitants are poor Jews. There is no railway, no telegraph, and occasionally does a newspaper appear to tell the people what's going on in the world. Pumpkin is a very quiet place.
My dear, come to lunch.
Rabbi Nachman is the son of the previous rabbi. He's a good rabbi who lives a quiet life. He spends much of his time studying and contemplating the Torah, the Talmud, and other sacred texts. He has never yet found a reason to travel more than half an hour beyond Pumpkin.
I have potato soup and some pumpernickel bread.
Do you know what I've been thinking about?
I'd love to hear it, Itzhak.
I read from the holy books that to be rich is a great misfortune. Rabbi Osher has written, riches are stored to the hurt of their owner. In the Holy Gemara, there is a passage which says, poverty becomes a Jew as scarlet rains become a white horse. There are passages in the commentaries that say the poor see the world truly, but the rich are deceived by their wealth. All of us in Pumpkin are very fortunate to be poor.
Oh, Itzhak, my dear and learned husband, this is excellent wisdom for a rabbi, but perhaps it does not fit so well with everyday life. Surely being poor is not such a blessing.
Well, how do you say that?
It is not good when children do not have enough to eat, or a man's horse dies and he has no money to replace the horse and continue to earn a living. Being poor, we ourselves have our own misfortune. There is no money for Rebecca's dowry.
We will find a way.
But it's 2 years now, and Rebecca wants to be married. She is 19 already. She is a good girl, a rabbi's daughter, and a pretty girl too, but no one will marry her without a dowry. And we don't have a single ruble saved up for her. What does your Talmud tell you about this?
This is indeed a complication. I must think.
Well, eat while you think, dear. Our soup is getting cold.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Devorah, I have an answer. We will allow rich men to disburden themselves of their great wealth. If a rich man gives money to 100 poor men, the rich man is much better off, and not one of the poor men will receive so much money as to make them rich. The poor remain happily poor, but perhaps will not experience the deprivations you have pointed out to me. We solve everyone's problems. The rich and the poor will be delighted by the plan.
This may be a very good plan. I don't know. Where will we find a rich Jew?
In Vilna. I will travel to Vilna. There must be many rich Jews there who suffer terribly from their wealth. They will be overjoyed when I explain my plan. Surely there are many poor Jewish villages in the eastern lands, enough for every rich Jew. I need only to get things started. After a while, people will see how well my plan works and others will adopt it. I will start with Yaakov Kovna, the richest Jew in Vilna. I will set out in 2 days. I will speak to Ezra and Shaul. They often travel to Vilna to sell their goods. They will tell me everything I need to know about Vilna.
I'm so sorry, Father. I tried very hard to do well at the bank, but Mr. Kolitz told me not to return.
But Mr. Kolitz works for me. I can overrule his decision if I want. But ultimately, you know, there's really no benefit to that. You don't have a head for business like your brothers do. Too bad that you don't have a bent for scholarship. You'd make a very good rabbi. You have the heart and soul of a rabbi.
Yes, I think I would enjoy the life of a rabbi, but that is not to be. Father, do you know what I would like to do?
Tell me.
I would like to bake bread. I love the smell of the flour and the smell of the warm bread when it comes from the oven. I like the idea of working hard to make something that people really need. I would give away much of my bread.
Alas, that cannot be. You will never lack for anything in this world, but the son of our family cannot be seen baking bread in Vilna. Moshe, you're a good boy.
Thank you, Father. Father,
Yes?
Hayam says there's a man at the door who wants to speak to you. Hayam says he's badly dressed. He says he's the rabbi of Pumpian.
I've heard of Pumpian. Tell Chaim to send the man up to see me. Oh, and tell Chaim to fix tea. And also kugel. The man might be hungry. There is much to say about what you're talking about. There's much good in it. However, the burdens of being rich are not always so bad. God does not always choose to punish men who are rich. This depends on how they became rich and how they live their lives.
Surely you are right, but setting aside the question of God's punishment, being rich is a great and terrible burden. I have read this in several holy books.
Yes, and I thank you for choosing me to be the first rich Jew that you will help. And perhaps we should put your plan to work. Tell me, Reb Nachman, about how many families are there in Pumpian?
There are different ways to determine what is a family. In some cases, the people who live under one roof might be regarded as two families. But I would say there are about 40 families in Pumpian.
It is indeed a very small village. And about how much money do you think that the families in Pumpian make in a year? I know this varies from family to family, but if you were to name one amount of money that's right in the middle, what would that be?
Mr. Kovner, this is hard to know exactly. Perhaps a man works with the help of a strong son, a blacksmith. That will be a wealthy man. But in another family, only the man works. Perhaps they have 4 young children. Perhaps this man works in a stable. This situation is very different. But putting everything together, maybe the middle figure is 200 rubles for each family in a year.
200 rubles. This is indeed a poor village. Reb Nachman, I think we are friends now. May I ask you, how much money do you make in a year?
This is no secret. The congregation pays me 100 rubles each year. They can do no better. Also, I get a few kopecks when I marry a couple or I preside over a funeral. And my wife, Devorah, she knits shawls that are sold in Vilna. So, in a year, 150 rubles.
Rabbi, how well can you live on 150 rubles?
Not so well, but well enough. Deborah keeps a garden. We live simply,
But
if God forbid severe illness were to come to our door, we needed medicine from Vilna, we might not be able to afford the medicine. Also, our daughter, Rebecca, she is ready to marry, but we have no money for a dowry.
But she's the daughter of the rabbi.
That makes no difference in Pumpian.
I see. That is too bad. Reb Nachman, you have made me aware of how much I suffer from being rich, and I welcome the opportunity to unburden myself of some of my wealth. And it's always good to do a mitzvah. I would be pleased to give each family in Pumpian 50 rubles a year. With this money, they could live better, pay for medicine. But if a family goes from, say, 200 to 250 rubles a year, they're still poor, yes? They're in no danger of becoming miserable from their wealth. Is that not so?
Yes, I agree with you. However, I am not so good with finances. Tell me, is this 50 rubles that you propose to give each year to the families of Pumpian enough money to bring down the level of your wealth to the point where you will no longer be miserable?
It will be a good start. And there are so many other poor Jews that I can give money to. Perhaps I can find other rich Jews who would want to relieve their misery as I am doing. We'll have to see about that.
Yes, perhaps we should start small with my plan. Let people see, as an example, the mutual benefit for both you and the people of Pumpian. Then the idea will catch fire across all Jewish Russia.
Yes, that may be. I think it is better to give out the money on a monthly basis. Poor people become dazzled when they receive too much money at one time. And they get confused. I propose 5 rubles per family per month. I will need a trustworthy man to distribute the money. So, Reb Nachman, that would be you. Also, I predict that sometimes there may be disputes. People living under one roof will declare themselves to be 2 separate families, and they will want 2 allotments of money. Perhaps they're right, perhaps not. Who better to decide than the village rabbi?
Oh no, Mr. Coker, no. I cannot do such a thing. I have many duties to perform as rabbi. Also, while I can interpret Jewish law for the community and resolve certain differences of opinion, I am not so good about keeping accounts, keeping track of who has and has not gotten their money. Perhaps one family was visiting relatives in another village when I came round with their rubles, and so I missed them. Then I must remember to give them 2 payments when they return.
Yes, I did not think of the difficulties that you would face giving out the money. Perhaps there should be an extra fee for you for doing that work.
Oh, no, Mr. Kovner. I would never accept a fee for distributing money that you are giving to our village. I simply cannot do the job.
Your wife then, Devorah. Can she read and write, keep records?
Oh, surely she can, but the people of Pumpian would be deeply upset if a woman gave them money and settled their disputes. It can only be a man.
You told me you have a daughter. Rebecca is her name, right? Tell me about Rebecca. How old is she? Is she gentle or is she a shrew? Can she read and write?
She is a lovely girl, 19 years of age, pretty and very smart. Deborah and I have taught her much more than the very little they teach girls in our school. Rebecca reads and writes Hebrew and Russian, as well as Yiddish. She can read Polish and some German. She can sing. She's religious and dutiful and has a loving heart.
Indeed, she does sound like a treasure. Rabbi, let me tell you about my son, Moshe. He's a good boy. Not so good in business, but good enough for any business that you have in Pumpian. Certainly good enough to distribute rubles each month. Perhaps we can arrange a match between my Moshe and your Rebecca, if the couple agrees. Moshe is a handsome boy, a kindly boy, and you say that Rebecca has a loving heart. So does Moshe. And you said that Rebecca is interested in marriage?
Yes, she is. This might make a very good match, but would Moshe want to live in our little village? And I have no dowry. Surely in Vilna, the father of the groom expects a large dowry.
I think Moshe would be very happy in your village. Life moves at a slow pace there, and I think that would be good for him. And he can easily visit his mother and me in Vilna. The trip is just a day's journey by coach or wagon. And the dowry, my dear Rabbi, your gift, your plan by which I am relieving my misery. This is a fine dowry.
Yes, I think it is. This is very good. Rebecca has lived in Pumpian all her life. She knows every family. She's shrewd and thoughtful, but always fair-minded in her opinions. If there are disputes or problems in giving out the rubles, Rebecca can advise Moshe privately. Of course, they have not even met, but I am very hopeful.
Let me invite Moshe in to join us. I'd like you to meet him so you can report to Rebecca. He is handsome. You'll see. He's well-mannered and kind, pious, and a good boy. I promise you, I'll call him in. He'll be very surprised, but pleased. Moshe! Moshe has a good heart, but he's set on a humble occupation, baking bread. And a man should work at something. A son of Yaakov Kovner cannot possibly be seen baking bread in Vilna. But in Pumpian, could Moshe make bread in Pumpian?
Yes,
Ah.
this would be very possible. Shmuel, our baker, is old and has no children. I think he and his wife would be very pleased if Moshe were to join the business and, in due time, take it over.
I think that God has led you to my door. You will see what a good boy my Moshe is. He will make a fine husband for Rebecca and a fine son-in-law for you as well.
Excellent. I think we are agreed.
I think this calls for a drink. Just a minute. Got something here?
L'chaim!
Moshe, where are you? Moshe!
Hey.
Could you introduce yourselves? Oh, I'm Nancy Rosen.
I'm Cheryl Shapiro.
I'm Jonathan Hill.
I'm Amelia Webster.
I'm Melanie Field.
Hey.
So as we get ready for